I hit it first.
What's good, War Room world? Welcome to another edition of Inside the War Room. I'm one of your hosts, Devin McMillan, and I'm here with my partners, Jimmy Williams.
The beard is definitely in the building.
And B. Austin.
Yo, if you cut your beard, you a sellout like Mike.
So we want to talk to you guys for a few minutes today because earlier today, I guess there's no other way to put it. History has been made. The first openly gay athlete in team sports has come out. That athlete is one of the Collins brothers, Jason Collins, most recently of the Washington Wizards. We just want to talk a few minutes, man, to see like what the impact of this is. We've talked about it a few times. We've had Sid Ziegler from Outsports on our podcast, and we've had him here on Inside the War Room. He was traveling today, so we really couldn't get with him, but we'll talk to him later. But, fellas, I want to know what you think the impact is because we've had conversations leading up to this very moment. But is the whole situation, the movement by the gay and lesbian community in sports, do you guys think it might be a little bit skewed because Jason Collins is, in fact, a free agent? When he is playing, he's a bench player, and he's basically just not that famous of a player because, people who aren't just basketball heads, when they heard the news earlier, they were like, who? So do you think it takes anything away from the situation by him not being an impact player?
The reality, that's a great question and a great point. The reality is for Jason Collins, being that he's 34 years old and having already played in the league at least a decade, it's conceivable that he may never have an NBA job again.
Right.
So for him to come out at this point, you knew you were gay 10 years ago, and you decided now, I guess, that the climate was right. And I understand that behind the movement of LGBT, that's going to really stand behind him and support him. I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, is this an attention move? Is this, how genuine is it when you're doing it really at the end of your career and your career may even be over to come out and do it? I guess the climate and the time is right.
See, that's a good point that you raised because I was having thoughts. Jason Collins, like we said, is not that much of an impact player. He is at the end of his career. He has been a journeyman for most of his career. So by doing it now, if he indeed never gets a job again, will it be a situation where the gay and lesbian community try to cry discrimination, try to cry foul because he no longer plays in the NBA? Jason Collins may not have gotten a job in the NBA.
I'm gonna get a gay, lesbian, and transgender community a little bit more respect. For their understanding of the game of basketball. They know that Jason Collins is a bum. And they know that,
Why do you figure that? Everybody in the gay and lesbian community isn't sports fans.
No, that's
just
true.
Like everybody who's straight isn't a sports fan.
But it takes minimal research for you to understand that he's a bum. And with the access that the internet allows you to view his clips, view him playing on YouTube, look at basketballreference.com.
But does that mean that they understand, like, if he doesn't work again from this moment forward, that was already possible? That might not even be in anybody, not even just gay and lesbian people. That may not be in, anyone who's not a hardcore sports fan. That might not be in their
he's 34 at the end of this season. So we're in the end. So by next season, he's facing 35. He's had at least a decade. It's probably more than a decade.
B. Austin, you keep ignoring my point. You know that. I know that. Sports fans know that. But whether straight or gay, that might not just be common knowledge.
Common knowledge that 35-year-old men don't get NBA jobs.
Hold on. Let me say something real quick. Let me spit a little truth to power. Devin's point is exactly right. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but that was a thought. And I think anybody who's able to think logically could have had that thought, considering he is a free agent. But he's also a 7-footer. And a lot of times when you're past your prime, even if you are 6'11", 7 foot, you can hang around on the NBA roster for a long time.
As long as you want, basically.
Exactly. See Juwan Howard. You can't teach like size, pause. But it's like So he think about it this way. He got a job this past year. I mean, you know.
And probably didn't probably play 4 minutes the whole season.
That's my thing. He got a job this past year. Now, in terms of the whole movement and whether it will be affected because it is Jason Collins, I mean, you see the media circus that happened all day. It kind of took over their way. This is a big story. This is history being made. I think his name is big enough in the sense that basketball heads know who the Collins brothers are.
I want to know if his brother's gay.
No, his brother's not his brother. Or they came out, and you know, if you read the story, his brother didn't even know he was. His brother
told him last summer.
Yeah, he just told him. He said basically he did such a job of hiding it that his own twin brother didn't even know. So
twin, and they're identical twins.
Yeah, so I mean, do
they feel the same thing? Never mind. Go ahead.
This is a you know, a big story, and at the end of the day, man, it took a lot of courage for him to do so. I don't think it was a situation where you know, it's a cry for attention. Because, you know, it has to be the right time, which it is the right time. Because now, if you look at the sentiment, and if you look at anybody who said anything slanderous, they got, you know, chased right away. Look at what Mike Wallace said. And people wanted his neck, you know, right away. So the climate was right for this to happen. We talk about it all the time in terms of how the climate has changed. There's a complete paradigm shift. It's sort of like, you know, people need a cause to fight for, and this is one they've chose to fight. You know, I don't judge anyone. I don't judge Jason Collins. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he. My problem is, you know, and I know we're not there as a society yet, but I hope one day this is not his story. Like, you know, his sexual preference is his sexual preference.
But the thing is, Jim, you made a great point just now, because we've run into a lot of people today having this conversation where they don't think it's a story. Now, I'm not, you know, accusing those people of being homophobic or anything like that. It's just the I don't give a damn contingent. Why is this a story contingent?
Because it's Jason Collins. Because it's Jason Collins.
No, that's not why, be off. That's not why. That's not why.
This is America. Lesbian and gay movement. It's a big thing right now. Just like we talked about, like we talk about on our podcast. You can't separate the social issues from sports, because sports is a microcosm of life. We've been talking about gay and lesbian athletes, you know, all year, and it's not just a media thing, because everybody who says I don't give a damn, you know, they take the time, you know, to type that on social media and tell everybody that they don't.
I mean, the courts are ruling on gay. Left it alone. The courts are ruling on gay marriage. I mean, this is an issue that you know it's deeper and bigger in sports right now. You know,
it's definitely an issue, because there's never been an openly gay athlete in a locker room. So, you know, it's been out there for a while, where everybody wants to know what the reaction would be, not just in society, but most prominently, we want to know what people in the locker room would say. In my opinion, I think the people inside the locker room, no matter what they really think, I think everybody's going to take a politically correct stance on it, just because that's the world we live in.
That's society. Everybody has the right media training, I guess, today. My personal opinion, which is one that I've stated through the years, I believe that sexuality has no place in the locker room. Your sexuality, kind of similar to what you were saying, Jimmy, it should be a non-issue where the locker room is concerned. I know that that's not necessarily realistic because of the climate we live in, but what you do in the bedroom shouldn't really come into play in our locker room where we're playing ball. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. You know.
No doubt, and I agree with you to a great extent. But there are a lot of people out there who would say the same thing. But if they had some strippers or some hookers the night before, they're in the locker room talking about that, showing photos of that. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to see photos of your teammate and some other cat.
No. You know what though? I'm not gonna be the hypocrite. So I'm gonna throw that out there. You know, would it make me feel uncomfortable? Strippers in the locker room? No, it wouldn't. I'm gonna be honest. But I would rather draw a line in the sand and say that sexuality, period, has no place here. So don't bring the strippers.
Don't ask, don't
show
tell
me.
He want to don't ask, don't tell NBA. Listen, man. This is just where we are in society. Some of the questions being asked, and I'm glad. See, the great thing about it is the discussion is happening now. You know what I mean? Like, now we're having this discussion as opposed to just trying to ignore it. You see the best and the worst of people when things like this happen, because some of the comments I saw, I can't even repeat. But you also see people,
I've already
who
seen
came
him,
to a
Jimmy.
defense.
I've
You know what I
already
mean?
seen the man be called Jason Collins.
Yeah.
I've heard people,
Listen,
That's
man.
like
ask
Dwight.
about
They
his
would call him
brother.
Dwight.
But you
Dwight
know what,
Howard.
though? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I defend his right to, love whoever he loves, but I defend people's right to say whatever they feel like saying. That's the great thing about America. With that being said,
I don't even feel that
But listen,
you
though,
need
but
to
my
defend
thing
his
is
right
this,
to
though.
love anyone. Yo, I don't even care.
Listen, but that's what I'm saying. Non-issue, but it's not a non-issue. You know what I mean? It's not a non-issue. It should be, but it's not.
Put it like this, BL. So we want it to be a non-issue, but we have to be realistic. There's millions of people out there who want to say racism is a non-issue, but we all know that's bullshit. You know what I mean? So I hate this cliche, but it is what it is. But going back to the first point we made, because I kind of disagree with what Jimmy said. I do think because it's an athlete the caliber of Jason Collins, and I say caliber, I'm not talking about caliber, I'm talking about the caliber of Jason Collins. I think that, of course, today, this week, I think it's going to be a huge story, but I kind of think maybe not that it'll be swept under the rug, but in comparison to what it would be if it was one of those athletes that was everybody's hero.
Right.
If he came out,
it's
out there for good. The narrative has been changed.
No, Devin, I get that, but see, the thing is, and I had this conversation today with a couple people. What I was asking is, what are you looking for to happen? Like, I understand that after a while this won't be a story, but it's like, what are you looking for to happen based upon the first player coming out? Right. Now, this was a superstar. What would you expect to happen after the fact? Do you think it'll be a wave of people coming out? Because I don't think that would happen regardless of who the first athlete is, because there's a lot of other issues outside of coming out in your sport. It's like a lot of people are afraid, for family, for just in general security reasons. There are a number of reasons why.
If Cuttino Mobley, Steve Francis, Dwayne Wade, Russell Westbrook, if one of those guys would have come out, it would have gone a lot farther, I think, than.
Farther in terms of what, though? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Farther in terms of what?
You just mean the dialogue? Because that's a hard thing to fathom too. Like, just because I hear, I'm not trying to put LeBron or anybody other, but say somebody of LeBron's stature came out, and there's not too many people.
He's the biggest. There is nobody.
He's the biggest name out there, so that's what I got to use. If LeBron came out, would it make other dudes more comfortable, especially if they see either way, no matter who it is that comes out, if you're gay and you play in one of these leagues, you're going to sit back for a while anyway to see what kind of treatment.
But that's exactly my point.
That could be years. That could be years.
That's exactly
here's an angle. Here's an angle to that, Devin. Because of what the NBA and professional sports have become in terms of personal branding, the amount of money and the amount of support that would be garnered by that athlete coming out, they would sit back for maybe 6 months, a year. But when they saw those dollar signs rolling, it would be a lot of Frank Oceans, man.
Now, that's a key point, because brand is important. And the fact that this dude is at the end of his contract and he's never really been a brand, I just don't think he's the right.
I don't appreciate you guessing the comments.
No, listen, I get all that.
He's not the one, man.
I get all that, but the thing is, I just look at it different because I don't know what the one actually means. You know what I'm saying? Was Kurt Flood the one? But he made a change.
Put it like this, Jim.
It's really easy.
I think
it's really easy to examine this.
No, listen, I think the people who are behind this movement, B. Austin, the people who are behind this movement, I think they're proud of Jason Collins for doing it. I think it's a big day for them. I think history's been made, but at the same time, I can't help but to think that it may have been a little anticlimactic for them, because I know deep down people probably were hoping, if you're behind that movement, somebody bigger came out.
I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know what that difference would have been, because you know what? You say you don't know what Jason Collins' brand is. Well, guess what? You found out today. Jason Collins now is a brand. And B. Austin, what I'm saying is I just don't know what the difference would have been. You know what I mean?
The difference would have been with any of those players I named, even going as far back and as low as Cuttino Mobley and Steve Francis, it would have been the mass appeal that they had. You would have brands that were willing to hook the wagon up behind them because of who they are and what their appeal.
Not Cat
Also, those dudes, they had like
they
had a street credibility, like a Steve Francis, his type of following. So he would have had a lot of fans that would have to make a decision.
Yeah, but he named Cat Mobley. He named Cat Mobley though. Cut it out with Cat Mobley.
Yo, Cat Mobley is more than Jason Collins.
That's the big.
All right, but look, but that's what we're gonna. And matter of fact, we're gonna throw it to the people out there. We're gonna throw it to the viewers. What do you guys think? Do you think that Jason Collins, making history like this, do you think he's a big enough name to maybe push the dialogue and just get this issue just out in the forefront so we can make it a non-issue? Do you think he's a big enough name to start that run? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you click like on the video and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. As usual, this has been another episode of Inside the War Room. Don't ever accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance. Jimmy?
I'll see you chumps on top. At me, ladies. At me,
moms everywhere.
Kuwait is the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.